Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Gopinath Radha Gopinath Shri Radhe. Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama. Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadrama. Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gora Haribo Haribo Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo Nitai Gora Haribo Haribo Haribo. Nitai Gora Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivracharya Astotrasta Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. मथुरा धाम की जय. नवदीप धाम की जय. श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी की जय. यमुना माई की जय. सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Okay, good morning everyone, and Hare Krishna to you all. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class at Sri Sri Radha Gopinath Temple, Sydney, Australia. Welcome to all our online viewers on Mayapur TV, on ISKCON Sydney YouTube, and Facebook. This morning we are going to be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 34. The title of this chapter is Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nasta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir-bhavati naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Okay, text 33 or 34. Ataparam Sukshmatamam Ataparam Sukshmatamam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Anadi Madhya Nidhanam Anadi Madhya Nidhanam Nityam Van Manasa Param Nityam Van Manasa Param Ataparam Sukshmatamam Ataparam Sukshmatamam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Anadi Madhya Nidhanam Anadi Madhya Nidhanam Nityam Van Manasa Param Nityam Van Manasa Param Ataparam Sukshmatamam Ataparam Sukshmatamam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Avyaktam Nirvisheshanam Anadi Madhya Nidhanam Anadi Madhya Nidhanam Nityam Van Manasa Param Nityam Van Manasa Param. So the meanings: Ata, therefore; Param, transcendental; Sukshmatamam, finer than the finest; Avyaktam, unmanifested; Nirveshanam, without material features; Anadi, without beginning; Madhya, without an intermediate stage; Nidhanam, without end; Nityam, eternal; Vak, words; Manasa, of the mind; Param, transcendental. So, we've got the translation and the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Translation. Therefore, beyond this gross manifestation is a transcendental manifestation, finer than the finest form. It has no beginning, no intermediate, and no end. Therefore, it is beyond the limits of expression or mental speculation, and is distinct from the material conception. So let me repeat that. Therefore, beyond this gross manifestation is a transcendental manifestation, finer than the finest form. It has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end. Therefore, it is beyond the limits of expression or mental speculation, and is distinct from the material conception. Okay, purport. The gross external body of the Supreme is manifested in a certain, at certain intervals, and thus the external feature or form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not the eternal form of the Lord, which has no beginning, no intermediate stage, and no end. Anything which has a beginning, interim, and end is called material. An expression of that would be actually us, Jiva souls. Jiva souls. When we are born, we have a beginning. And then when we grow up and when we are, passing through the stages of life from childhood to youth, to a young man or a woman, and then middle age. So we have a middle. So we had a beginning, we had a middle, an intermediate stage, and then towards the end we grow old. And then we dwindle, and then we die. And that's the end. So that's us. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not have any such feature. He doesn't go through any of those stages. So that means that we have got a beginning, a middle, and an end, which means by definition we are material, in a material stage. We are not in a transcendental or spiritual stage. So often when we are practicing bhakti, I had this question to my spiritual master, because by definition, if we are material, but we are practicing spirituality, then how does that define us? Are we still material, even though we are practicing spirituality? And the answer was, obviously we are not spiritual at that stage. So I'm not totally spiritual right now. However, I'm not material either. So the answer then becomes that we are in between somewhere, which is a kind of a strange and precarious position, I would say, to be in, because that means that we can fall either way. I mean, we are in such a dangerous position. If we stop our bhakti or our spiritual progress, we could fall back into the material stage. On the other hand, if we continue our chanting and our spiritual progress, then we end up being entirely spiritual. So those practicing devotees in an interesting stage. Neither material nor spiritual, but in the process of determining actually where we will end up. But however, in our gross body, we are in a material form. So we are still in that beginning, intermediate, and then dwindling end form. So anyway, continuing from there, the material world is begun from the Lord. And thus, the material form the material world is begun from the Lord, and thus form the Lord before the beginning of the material world is certainly transcendental to the finest or the finer material conception. The ether is in the material world is considered to be the finest, the ether. Finer than the ether is mind, intelligence, and false ego. Now the mind, intelligence, false ego, they form our subtle body, as opposed to our gross body. Our gross body, what is our gross body? Our gross body is whatever body we have that you can see, which is flesh and blood, and it has all those senses, the senses of the nodes, the ears, the eyes, the smell, the touch. That's the gross body of all our five senses, and the finer senses. And then there is a subtle body. The subtle body contains of our mind, intelligence, and false ego. And within that subtle body is contained our soul, which is genuinely what we are. In the purest sense, we are the soul. So, continuing from there, but all 8 of the outward coverings are explained as outer coverings of the absolute truth. The absolute truth is therefore beyond the expression and speculation of the material conception. In other words, those of us who are in material life, which we are all in, basically 100%, in the material world, we cannot conceive the transcendental and the spiritual conceptions. We cannot. The infinity of it, the eternity of it, it's beyond that's what this is saying. It's therefore beyond expression and speculation. We cannot even speculate about it. He is certainly transcendental to all material conceptions. This is called nirvisheshanam. One should not, however, misunderstand nirvisheshanam as being without any transcendental qualifications. Visheshanam means qualities. Therefore, nir added to it means that it has no material qualities or variegatedness. Yeah. So the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Lord Krishna. He is untouched by the material world. Even though it sounds very contradictory, because material world comes from him. So then how can he not be material? It is just like that of a lotus flower in the water. It is untouched by water. Krishna does not really mix with the material world. All he does is he glances at the material energy, and pregnates the material energy with the living entities with just simply his glance. And it then becomes up to Durga Devi or Maya or the material energy and Lord Shiva, of course, to continue with the procreation of the living entities. So in other words, Lord Shiva and Durga Devi are responsible for overseeing the material world, not Lord Krishna. He just glances. So who is Lord Shiva? Lord Shiva is in a tattva of his own. Like all of Lord Krishna's forms are Vishnu tattva. Vishnu tattva like Krishna, Lord Vishnu, Maha Vishnu, Balaram, even the incarnations Nrsimhadev, they are all Vishnu tattva. Nrsimhadev, Vaman, what are the others? Varaha, Matsya. They are all Vishnu tattvas. And then there is Shiva tattva, which is in a category of his own. And that Shiva tattva is, it consorts with the material energy. And that does not put him in a category of Jiva tattva. Jiva tattva are the ordinary souls like us. So Lord Shiva is in a category of his own. And so that's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He does not mix with the material energies. He is transcendental, spiritual, beyond our conception. So this nullifying expression is described in 4 transcendental qualifications, namely unmanifested, transcendental, eternal, and beyond the conception of the mind or word. Beyond the limits of word means negation of the material conception. Unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to know the transcendental form of the Lord. So the last sentence is quite important. Unless one is transcendentally situated, it is not possible to know the transcendental form of the Lord. And that's what this class is going to be about this morning. We need to be able to be transcendentally situated in order to understand Lord Krishna, in order to know the transcendental form of Lord Krishna. How can we bring ourselves to the transcendental situation is really the question. And so hopefully we can come up with some solution as to how we can place ourselves in a transcendental situation so we can know. Because we are worshipping Lord Krishna and we want to know who he is, how he is, how to get to him in our contaminated material stage. How do we actually get to know our worshipable Lord? How can we see him? So hopefully we can come to some conclusions by the end of this class. So a little bit of Mangal Charan. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagara Jatam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamvitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagat. Please pardon me, I just faltered over there. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishmanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpa Trubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutle Srimate Bir Krishna Goswaminiti Namne Namo Hamsa Nikashaya Prabhupada Priyayate Shrudidda Shuddhi Nishtabhem Tasya Vakya Nuvadine. So, let's see. We are wanting to know how to get to a transcendental situation where we can understand the Lord. Because in our material conditions, we are unable to do so. So let's see. First of all, we have to understand that who is God. We actually have to understand who is God. So how do we know who is God? We read our shastras, our Vedic shastras, or we approach somebody who knows God. And who is that? Somebody who is practicing bhakti. And they are spiritual teachers. And obviously, the best one would be Srila Prabhupada. And he teaches us about Lord Krishna. He knows who is God. There are many religions out there. And they will teach you a lot of things. They will teach you good things, how to conduct yourself, how to behave, how to respect God. But you will find that these religions will not teach you the essence, the personality of God. In other words, God in person. Who is He is, what does He do, where does He live. They will give some idea of, God is out there in the sky or in the heavens, and but really there is not much detail. So that in itself, when you come to the Vedic scriptures of Vaishnavas, when you read the details, then that in itself, the details will tell you, okay, well, this makes sense. This sounds correct. This sounds like the good Lord. I mean, the past times. When Lord Krishna had invented 5,000 years ago, he lifted the Govardhan hill on a little pinky, on his left hand, for 7 days and 7 nights. Who can do that? No one. We won't be able to lift even a glass or a cup for 7 days and 7 nights on a little pinky. We'll falter, a little cup. So it's by those great feats that we actually we understand who is God. So Gurudev actually, Bir Krishna Maharaj tells us that every night before we should go to sleep, read a little bit of the Krishna book, the Leelas. There is a reason for it. The Leelas. So there is an answer in itself. If you want to know God, first of all, approach a teacher, Srila Prabhupada. Second of all, read the scriptures or the translation that is given, which is the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita, the Chaitanya Charimrita, all any scriptures, any literature. Thirdly, if you really want to know who is God, His personality, read the pastimes. And the pastimes of Lord Krishna is very nicely detailed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, or simply pick up a Krishna book and read it. So the pastimes of Krishna. And as I was saying, my spiritual master says read a little bit of Krishna book before you go to sleep. And the reason is that it will affect your consciousness. It will affect your consciousness in the form that you will, in the way that you will actually dream of Krishna. I mean, I have personal experience of that. And dreaming of Krishna will, its entirety is actually spiritual. If it is Krishna that you are dreaming of, it is spiritual. So you are able to get more realizations through those dreams. Your consciousness becomes purified. Your heart becomes purified. And all of this is possible. There is only one way it's possible. It is through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. The Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is... there is hardly any words to describe the entire power of it. Its power is unlimited, and we often... it comes across, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is something so simple. When you say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, sounds so simple, right? Actually, it is called Maha Mantra for a reason. There is a whole impact of power that is encompassed, included in that Maha Mantra. Firstly, the Maha Mantra includes Lord Krishna's names. And as you know, Lord Krishna is not different from his names. In other words, his name includes the entire power of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna's strength power is included in the Maha Mantra. So what does that mean? That means that whenever we chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the purity of it, the power of it, is it enables our consciousness to change. It purifies our consciousness in our hearts to such an extent that we are able to dream of those dreams that we wanted to see of Lord Krishna's pastimes. In other words, the name contains the facilities, the way in which we can purify ourselves enough, our consciousness enough to be able to see Krishna. And that's the whole point of this particular shlok, is to bring ourselves to such a situation, a transcendental situation in where we can actually gain knowledge of Krishna. Like for example, Prahlad Maharaj, what is he famous for? He is famous for meditating on the Lord. In other words, he uses his mind. In his mind, he is thinking of the Lord. What is he thinking? Who knows? Well, if you are thinking of the Lord, what are you thinking? You are probably thinking, oh, okay, so these were the pastimes, mostly. Okay, so this is how he was born, this is where he lived. According to the Krishna book, this is what he did, how naughty he was. I mean, there was one little, I just remembered a little incident in one of my guru's class. He was saying that Srila Prabhupada was listening to the glories of, the Krishna book by his disciples. They were reading from the Krishna book. I can't stress enough, if you want to know Lord Krishna, just read the Krishna book. So Srila Prabhupada was listening. One of his disciples was reading where Lord Krishna was stealing butter with the gopas, with his friends, and they got caught. And they were running, but before they ran, in order to harass the resident of Vrindavan or whoever's butter they were stealing, they did something very naughty, very, very naughty. They urinated. They passed urine where they were, so naughty. And Srila Prabhupada at that time laughed out aloud. He was enjoying that particular pastime. I mean, if you heard somebody else do that, you'd be probably disgusted, most likely. But if it's Lord Krishna, it's so sweet. So sweet. And you have to bring yourself to that transcendental situation where you can appreciate Krishna and his pastimes. So that's how you can see Krishna. Let me just find, I've written some notes down on some other hints and tips where you can actually be able to understand Krishna. If I can find it. Perhaps not. Oh, okay. So, I have got here, firstly, a quotation from Srila Prabhupada. We have to know Supreme Personality of Godhead by authority and not by speculation. In other words, we have to go via the right channels, correct channels. And the correct channels is obviously by a bona fide guru. Bona fide guru that comes from the disciplic succession. A true representative of Lord Krishna, which is Srila Prabhupada and Srila Prabhupada's disciples, whoever follows Srila Prabhupada. So firstly, you've got to get that down. Okay, once you do that, and Prabhupada here mentions that it is not possible to understand Lord Krishna by becoming a great debater. So you might meet a lot of people along the way who will be saying, oh, okay, so Krishna's like this, it's not like that. In other words, it's all, philosophy read by, in the books, and people debate using clever words. It is not possible to understand Krishna by clever words. It's not by a person who is vastly learned or a great scientist or a philosopher. So who can understand is one who is surrendered. So surrender is another word there. So firstly, we've got to go through a bona fide spiritual master, We've got to be able to read the Vedic scriptures. We've got to learn, listen to the pastimes. We've got to chant Hare Krishna. So these are some very important points on how we can actually bring ourselves to the transcendental situation where we can understand Krishna. And then obviously we have to be able to surrender to Krishna. What does surrender mean? Surrender means firstly to understand that he is God. And secondly, you accept things that are acceptable to Lord Krishna. What are they? I mean, for something very simple like eating prasadam, consuming prasadam, means not eating meat, fish or eggs, not taking intoxication or drugs. These are things that are acceptable by Krishna. Rejecting those things that are unacceptable to Krishna means rejecting bad association, rejecting intoxication, all those things that we generally tell our devotees when they come to the Hare Krishna temple, or they first come and try to learn about our philosophy, and they find it a little bit difficult. But this is the whole point is to bring us to a purified stage where we can be transcendentally situated to understand Lord Krishna. So all these things are important, the surrender bit. And then we understand that Krishna maintains us. We understand that Krishna is the one looking after us. And we understand that he is going to be there for us whenever we need it. He is going to provide for us. He is going to protect us. And we also submit ourselves to Krishna in the form of bhakti, in the form of worship. In other words, we self-surrender all of us to Lord Krishna. We give ourselves to Krishna. And lastly, we actually practice humility. In other words, let go of pride and stop being proud. Or that comes with entails with the ownership also, that we understand that everything belongs to Krishna, it doesn't belong to us. So all of that is surrender. Once we do that, then again we are qualified to be into a transcendental situation where we can understand Lord Krishna. So these are some very important things. And as devotees, they will tell you that they've gone through this, they are chanting Hare Krishna, so they've done that stage, they've completed, or they're completing that stage. They will tell you, okay, so we are following those regulative principles, no meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex life. So they completed that stage, and they will say, well, they are maybe fully in the surrender process, or partially, or in the beginning stage, but they are practicing the surrender stage. They have found a spiritual master to guide them. If they don't have a spiritual master to guide them, they are under, they're reading Srila Prabhupada's books. In other words, they're in various stages to bring themselves to a transcendental situation where they can know Lord Krishna. So generally, 99% of the time, none of us are actually completely transcendental. That's why we are here in the material world. If we were in a completely transcendental situation, we'd not even be in the material world. We'd not be here. We'd not be present. So therein lies this very important point that no one is perfect. Therefore, we are not in a position to judge anyone. To say we are a better devotee or somebody is a lesser devotee. Because really, none of us have perfected ourselves yet. However, we do respect every single one who chants even a single line of the Maha Mantra, because that means that person is trying and in a situation, in a stage of bhakti. So whoever is practicing bhakti deserves all the respect, all due respect. That's Srila Prabhupada's Vani, that even the person who chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra even once should be respected, because they are trying to be in a transcendental situation where they can understand the Lord, or they're in the process of surrender. So that surrender bit is very important. That surrender is an example of that. Surrender would be Arjun in the Mahabharata. He surrendered and he can understand Krishna. So he was able to understand the entire Bhagavad Gita when Lord Krishna spoke to him, because he was surrendered. He said, okay, I'm putting my Astra and Shastra down, and now I accept you as my Guru, Lord Krishna. I surrender to you. You tell me what to do. So every one of us is like Arjun in this material life. We are just like him. We don't know where we are going, what we are doing, who is God, how to behave, how to be, how to perfect ourselves. We do not know. We don't know. So we are just like Arjun. And we put our pride aside. Arjun put all his shastras and astras aside. We put our pride aside. We put our basically everything aside and say, well, Lord Krishna, I give myself to you. Please tell me what to do. And that is just like Arjun. Once we do that, when you say, dear Lord Krishna, I'm here and taking shelter with you. Please guide us. Tell us what to do. And that's when your own personal Mahabharata starts. That's actually when you get guidance. That's tailor-made for you. So all of us practicing devotees, we are in our own little world with Krishna. It is every single one of us is in a path that's designed specifically for us alone. In order to be very close to Krishna, we are being guided in certain ways. So this is, and the whole point is, why are we surrendering? Is we are looking for God. All of us. We don't know what it is that makes us sad. We don't know what it is that makes us unsatisfied. We don't know. We're looking for that special something that makes us happy. That's the whole point. And that special something that makes us happy is God. And God is Lord Krishna. So how to find God is to be able to chant Hare Krishna, to be able to find guidance under Guru, a bona fide spiritual master, to self-surrender to Krishna, to follow the four regulative principles, to hear about Krishna, to remember Krishna. The 9 processes of bhakti, obviously. But the best one is, which everyone loves, is knowing about Lord Krishna's pastimes, his Leela. And there is one important ingredient that I missed out, which is really the conclusion and the ultimate requirement on how to put yourself in the transcendental situation. It's just a one word, but it's a very, very important word. Some might call it bhakti, but it's not really the word I'm looking for. The most important ingredient for those people who are listening, what do you think it is? The most important ingredient in order to be transcendentally situated, in order to know Krishna. What is it? The most important ingredient that you need. It's not bhakti that I'm looking for, the word. It is a simple one word. That's actually love. The word I'm looking for is love. Love for Krishna. You've got to love him. If you can't love him, then, or if you have not realized that you love him, then you cannot know him. It's not possible. It's got to have, the most important ingredient is love for God. In other words, you've got to understand that you love Krishna the most. And how do you know that? How do you know you love Krishna? Because when we come to the Krishna conscious movement and we are taught or we are guided, okay, so you do this, and you will become a devotee. And then they come and say, oh, we did this, including the chanting. We don't feel it. Where's the nectar? I mean, we are chanting Hare Krishna, we just don't feel it. Somebody introduces you to a spiritual master or a highly elevated devotee or a senior devotee, and they look at the senior devotee or the spiritual master and they say, we don't feel it. Just don't feel it. Why? Well, you haven't really realized the love for Krishna. The love that you feel for Krishna, in other words, first of all, you've got to like him. There has to be, so Krishna in itself means all attractive. So Krishna, his name, his very name says all attractive. That attractiveness actually draws you to him. And you automatically start loving him and liking him. So how to love Krishna? If you want to love Krishna more and more and more, or at least realize that you love Krishna, first of all, listen to his pastimes. So again, it comes back to that Krishna book or any Vedic scriptures which tells you about Lord Krishna. So you got to learn about Lord Krishna, what he's doing. As soon as you know, oh, okay, so he's stolen butter, he's run away with the gopis, he's being really cheeky with Mother Yashoda, he's been feeding the monkeys, or he's been running around writing love letters to Srimati Radharani, he's been unlawfully charging them tax, demanding them to pay tax via the milk products, is blocking their way. He's really being a nuisance to Srimati Radharani. She gets really mad at him and angry with him. She runs off in a huff and prohibits him to see him, for him to come to even anywhere near her. She appoints her friends to guard her. And then Krishna has to do all kinds of silly things like dress up as a lady. Once he dresses up as a woman to go and see Radharani, and Radharani looks at Krishna and says, oh, what a beautiful woman, you are so beautiful. And it's really actually Lord Krishna dressed up in the disguise of a lady just to see, Srimati Radharani. I mean, there's so many pastimes. He leaves Govardhan Hill to save the residents of Vraja. He becomes a hero. His favorite pastime is killing demons. He loves to kill demons. He's such a hero. He's extremely, magnificent. He is. So very, very attractive. And as a youth, as a child, or he's in Dwarka and he's marrying 16,108 wives with the 16,108 palaces for each wives. Or he's the best friend and the cousins of the 5 Pandavas, and he's in the battlefield, very heroic. I mean, there's all these pastimes that attract you to Krishna. And the ultimate, obviously, the first thing that you notice about his beauty, he's beautiful. Krishna is most beautiful. There's no one more beautiful than he is. He's it. So if you hear about his beauty, his perfect bluish skin, his beautiful lotus eyes, his beautiful black hair, the soles of his palms are pink, and he even has a very nice fragrance, which the fragrance goes for miles and miles. When Srimati Radharani was unconscious, she regained consciousness just by the smell of Krishna. Krishna was nearby. She knew. There's a sandalwood smell, fragrance coming. So when you hear all these pastimes, then you start like, oh, that's Krishna. Wow. I love him. Oh, I like him. I like what I'm hearing. I love what I can see or imagine. So then slowly, the love for Krishna will grow. And you'll want to be with him. And you'll want to be with people who know him. So that kind of situation you have to bring yourself to in order to know Krishna. I mean, the most important ingredient to know Krishna is love. You have got to love him. Just have to realize. And actually we all do. We all love him. That ingredient is in our hearts. It's hidden away. And we need to clear the path to the exact spot where there's the love of Krishna is hiding. In order to clear the path, we've got to chant Hare Krishna and clean it. We've got to practice some sadhana, we've got to practice some regulative principles, we've got to surrender to Krishna. Once we do all this, the path to loving Krishna is automatically, paved. And you can see very clearly. You are able to actually appreciate the rasa. As soon as you know his lila, I mean, you can enjoy it, you can go into ecstasy. And then that comes, when you chant Hare Krishna, you start feeling it. You start, I mean, there's times when you can actually enjoy chanting Hare Krishna so much. You go into ecstasy. So I won't speak for long. We are here at 8:45, and I've got to be somewhere else. So those are some of the important points that you can bring yourself to a transcendental situation where you can understand Lord Krishna. And if you're in any, there's one very important thing that I forgot to mention is about hearing. First of all, obviously you hear the Krishna Leelas, but you can actually hear kirtans. Kirtan heals. If you are hurting, or if you are in a state of distress, and you want relief, immediate relief, hear kirtans, your favorite kirtans, and that will actually heal you. If you're looking to be healed, hear kirtans, because the hearing is a channel from the ear to the heart, and even if somebody is in coma, they can hear you. So hearing is the strongest receptor of your body. It reaches the heart. It has the power to heal. So listen to kirtans. Anyway, I hope that maybe there are some things there that has touched your heart and you are able to love Krishna a little more than yesterday. It should always be in our prayers every day that, dear Lord Krishna, may we love you more and more, or realize our love for you more and more every day, so that we can reach you, so that we can know you. So thank you for listening. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam Puran ki Jai. Hare Krishna.